What's up, guys? Another project I have, I currently, and y'all have seen in some of my other videos, I have a 2022 Badlands Sasquatch with the hard top. It came originally with that. I found somebody selling a soft top about a week ago. I'm gonna do a video on what you need to transition from the hard top to the soft top, all the different components you'll need off of the original, and then how to do that. I'll probably do that next. One of the things, and the seller was up front, but one of the things that a lot of people experience when taking this off, if you take it off the wrong way, is you've got these little clips and they all attach right here. And they're simply just small little plastic pieces that break off pretty easily. And then this kind of flaps and doesn't look completed. Typically those break because you're removing it the wrong way. And there's a right way and a wrong way to put the windows back on. So what I'm gonna do is, Ford came out with a TSB, a technical service bulletin, showing how to fix this with rivets. So I bought a $8, $9 rivet gun and some rivets on Amazon. I'm gonna attempt to do this myself. A lot of this would be probably under warranty if you bought it with the soft top. So they would, if you take it in, they'll fix it. But you'll notice there are quite a few on here. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and show you guys how and make the attempt. Looking at the TSB, which I'll put a link to. I'm gonna make the attempt to fix this and we'll take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, to give you a better idea what I'm talking about, this is the back window. What you'll notice here is there's these little pieces, plastic. I'm not sure why they did this design. I feel like it was kind of a flaw, but you've got a couple, there's 5 total here. You can see these are broken off. This one's still intact. And the way you'll get it to come loose is you're just gonna pull this down and you'll see that kind of drops back into that groove, and then you can unsnap these. But again, I'm just kind of pushing my finger in, sliding it up, and then they're popping out. So now you can see here, those are intact. Tiny little plastic pieces, and these have been broken off. Okay, so here are a couple items that you're gonna need. Now, one of the first things, I had to get a pop rivet. I did not have one of these, a rivet gun. Again, I got this on Amazon for about $9, $10. Came with the rivets. So what I'm gonna use is the 3/16 rivet, a 5mm washer to fit with the rivet just for some additional support, a 3/16 drill bit for this. You're gonna measure about 5mm back on the plastic, which I'll show you here in a little bit. So you're gonna need something to measure that. It does ask you to use something to grip this, to kind of hold it into place. So I'm gonna use 2 of these. It also in here recommends the Motorcraft anti-corrosion right there. It's a coating that you can put on to help it from rust, to keep from rusting. I've got a film that I could possibly use, or I may end up just spray painting it. This is kind of a rust stop black interior-exterior paint. I may just mask it off and use that. All right, so the first couple steps, we've already visually inspected. We know we've got some broken pieces. It asks you to go ahead and remove. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this channel, which we already did. Next step it wants us to do is go ahead and remove this piece. So you've got this slid, this D-pillar is slid into this. What we're gonna do is just pull this apart and it really comes out of that channel, okay? So we're just gonna slide that out and then we can lift this back. They also recommend, since we're not gonna have any retention using these little T-clips anymore, we can go ahead and remove these. These are already gone, so I'm just gonna probably file those down and make sure everything's nice and clean so it sits flush. Okay, I've got these clips off, kind of sanded this down. It's a little bit more flush. What you're gonna do now is you want to fold, and here's some instructions again on this TSB. What we're gonna do is we wanna line these up. And what they're doing is basically lining it up how it would have been originally. So we're gonna lay this flat, bring this piece over the top, and we're gonna line up where these little tabs were. Line that up, and then we're going to use these clamps to clamp down on both sides, which you can see in this image. I found to make this a little bit easier, just take a block of wood or something and put that underneath. I think that'll help you with guiding and getting these clamps on. Okay, that was a lot harder than it should have been. I ended up just using one of these for this side, but you can see where I've got them lined up to where they originally were. So now we're gonna be able to drill our holes. Okay, so now we're gonna do a series of measurements. Right here, you'll see the first one is 185 millimeters from the bottom edge. Start from down here, and then we're gonna work our way up 185, which puts us right there. And we'll move on to 2, 3, 4, and 5. Number 2 is 100 millimeters down. I'm gonna make a mark down here. Number 3 is 140 millimeters up from location 1. So we'll go here, and then we're gonna go all the way up to here. I'm gonna go 6 millimeters, which is very little from the edge. So there's one right here behind this clamp, and then I'm gonna put another one about 6 millimeters back here, so it'll be right behind that clamp. So you may have to adjust these a little bit to get these final, you'll see there's one here, and there's gonna be one here. Okay, I wanna point something out. It references multiple times to obtain an even 5 millimeter gap between the D-pillar and the rear window plastic strip. So here's your rear window plastic strip. Here's your D-pillar. You'll see this little gap in here. You want to make sure that there is 5 millimeters in between. So just measure that out. You're going to need that space. The way I'm looking at it too, another way to make sure it's accurate is if you flip it over, I can see where my old tabs were, and when they're in the lock position, are they lined up evenly? And they do look pretty good. So if you need to adjust your clamps, just make sure you do have that space in between there. Okay, so I've got my 5 millimeter gap. What I'm gonna do is, it says to start at the top, or I'm sorry, at the bottom, and just kind of work your way up. So I'm gonna start by drilling this hole down here. It says in the instructions to use a 5 millimeter. Since I'm using a 3/16 pop rivet, I'm using a 3/16 drill bit to drill that hole. So that'll be the first one that I do down here. Okay, for this first one, I went ahead and took the clamp off. What you want to do is make sure you're 5 millimeters from the edge, and then you want to make sure you've got your 5 millimeter space here. If you don't get this right, you'll notice under here, you're going to end up drilling onto the edge of this, and it may not hold. So you want to hit this little dark spot right here. I'm going to use a much smaller drill bit to go ahead and get it started, and then I'm going to use a hole punch just to help initiate it. Because when you start to drill into this, it wants to spin. All right, so I actually drilled this a little too high. You're gonna wanna make sure you stay within that 5 millimeter. I'm a little bit north of that, so it's probably gonna run into where the other clip connected. But now what I'll do is I'll just take my rivet and I'm gonna push this through, okay? And now on the back side, you'll be able to see that's coming through. I'm gonna take this washer, I'm gonna slide that washer over to add some additional support, okay? Now I'll take the rivet gun, get that to disconnect, okay? And what we do is we slide this on. Let me make sure I keep that washer on this back side though. This might be easier if you have somebody to help, but there we go. Okay, so now I'm just drilling these holes all the way down, starting from the bottom and working my way up and put these top rivets in. So learn from my mistakes. I did get this one a little bit too, it was up too far. So I ended up having to add this one here, which was just to keep that a little extra supported. This one was fine, this one was fine. You can see using the washers. Over here, there wasn't enough material, and that pop rivet didn't want to stay in there. So I did add the one in here, got this one, and I'll add the last two. All right, so here's the final. I overdid it a little bit. I've got some extra rivets that I put in here. I could not get the washers to stick on these very well. I don't think there's gonna be an issue there, but I did add second one there. Got everything lined up, the 5mm. You can see where all the old plastic pieces used to be. Everything's lined up there as well. So the last thing that you'll do is just reinstall the plastic channel back into the D-pillar. You can use the interior trim tool, and all you'll do is just put that back and should be good to go.